Excellent. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, June 18th at 3:02 p.m. Call this meeting of the 911 Services Enterprise Board to order. Appreciate, as always, everybody's time and thank you for being here. So before we dive into the agenda, I do want one point of order. As we mentioned last time, if we want to, we have the option to go into executive session when we discuss the resource center proposal. So if we think we will, I would like to move that to the end of the agenda, which makes it easier, especially on the minutes and the recording. So just for the sake of that more than anything. So if we think that we would like to do executive session for that, I would propose moving that to the end of the agenda. Any thoughts on that?
Sounds like a good plan to me.
All right, let's do that. So with that, we will continue discussion and approval of the minutes of June 4th. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes? Any comments, clarifications, changes to the minutes of our June 4th meeting? Or any motions to accept?
I'll move to accept the meeting minutes from June 4th.
Thank you, Andrew.
Second.
Thank you, Lynn. Any additional? I saw you unmute, Matt, but you were too slow. Any additional comments or otherwise, those in favor say aye.
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 All right, minutes are approved. Next up, public comments. Any member of the public who would like to comment, limiting to 15 minutes total. Each member of the public may speak for up to 3 minutes on any topic relevant to the purposes of the enterprise. If any member of the public would like to speak, please indicate so now by raising your hand in Zoom to be called upon. After we address any raised hands in Zoom, we will then call for any additional comments from members of the public who maybe have dialed in or otherwise unable to raise their hands. I do see a public comment. Excellent. Zubin Bastani. I apologize for how I just pronounced your name, I'm sure.
That's all right, Michael. Hi, everyone. Nice to see a few of you again. My name's Zubin Bastani. I'm here in Denver, Colorado. It was recommended to me to come and introduce myself via public comment to the board. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm the founder and president of an organization here called ReachWell. ReachWell is a communication platform that complements emergency notification systems, but is also an alerting system on its own for areas that do not have an emergency notification system by tying directly into National Weather Service feeds and as well as IPAWS feeds. ReachWell was recognized by many directors around the state, and we get to work with about 13 counties across Colorado to support them with language translation of their emergency alerts. And as many are aware, there was an unfunded bill that was passed, SB 25031, that does require counties that meet specific metrics to provide their emergency alerts in the language of their residents. I did submit on the website a Google form, and in addition to that, I did pull some data that I shared with Randy and Jennifer Kirkland that identifies which of the counties we believe, based on the best information we have access to, including like Carson's study and some census data. There's about 22 counties that are unsupported with this from our studies, and we would like the opportunity to present at some point to the board what our solution could look like. We've taken a lot of feedback from Mickey Trost and among others around how we could make this extremely affordable. So now, as to minimize the financial impact on the citizens of Colorado, including myself and my family. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself, and I do hope to have the opportunity to dive deeper with the board on what our solution could look like to support that bill and the counties, and most importantly, the residents of our wonderful state. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. And for having the distinct honor of being our first public comment.
Glad to be the prototype here.
All right, any other members of the public who wish to speak? I do not see any additional hands. If there's anybody who was dialing in or otherwise unable to raise your hand in Zoom, go ahead and unmute and give your name to be addressed. All right, seeing none, public comment is closed. Thank you again. Moving on to bylaws. So Kirsten, we had two items still kind of outstanding in our bylaws. Kirsten provided some language for the compensation section. It was a very much abbreviated in our previous draft. The current suggested language here is that members of the board shall serve without compensation, but may be reimbursed for any necessary and actual traveling expenses incurred by them in the performance of their duties as members as allowable under these statutes and the state fiscal guidelines. Kirsten, anything you want to add or comment on that in addition?
Sure. So most sections for compensation don't include actual statutory references. And a big part of that is because the sections can change, the fiscal guidelines change as they reference the IRS guidelines, and it gets pretty complex because that can change multiple times per year. And we don't want to be updating the bylaws multiple times per year. But I think we are safe to cite these two, yeah, statutes, thank you. But yeah, just whatever the board thinks is better is fine by me. Yes, Matt?
Thing that I've seen often in these citations is a qualifier, right? To your concern, we could add something that, or as may be amended from time to time, or something of that nature.
Okay.
Something like that? Or I guess with that, would it make sense to just delete that as long as it's saying under statute? Is there a benefit to including them?
Well, I think if we keep this, we should say as they may be amended, or whatever Kirsten advises for the actual wording. If we keep as you just edited.
Yeah, I mean, I am not tied to it either way. We could say as allowable under state statute, and then get rid of the actual CRS citations. Especially with the state fiscal guidelines that actually tie back to the statutes, it would be pretty obvious what statutes we were discussing, but it's
I tend to lean more that way, to your earlier point about things changing, things being amended, adopted, changed, added to. While we're not trying to be vague to get away with anything, I think there is benefit in essentially being vague in this respect. Being very specific, but vague.
Sounds good.
Like that. Is that big enough?
that looks great to me. Does anyone else have any further questions or concerns about this?
Not that it needs to go into the bylaws, but I assume there are instructions for getting pre-approval for travel. And compensation, that sort of thing.
I would assume that would be through the PUC. But yes, there should be guidelines on that.
I think we're a long way off from any of us having to travel as a result of this, but at some point we'll probably want to get those resources just so that we're.
That could be a policy.
Yeah, we could have an internal process. Yes, Jennifer.
Thanks. I was just gonna say, if you guys need help or guidance, I can find out if our travel would apply to this board, and I can come prepared to talk about that at the next meeting.
That would be great. Thank you. Making a note to myself. All right. So if we're good there, the only other outstanding item we had was around this in the Article 1 preamble around the duties vested by the board relegating to the head of the principal department, being Dora. My thoughts around this, and Kirsten, I don't know if you had any recommended language here. My thoughts around this are, I would rather flip this around and retain those rights rather than we're almost expressingly giving them away. So I was kind of playing with that this afternoon, and my recommendation or my thoughts, and Kirsten, I would love your input. Any and all powers, duties, and functions specifically vested in the board. So again, turning that around by statute, including but not limited to budget, purchasing, planning, related management, shall remain with the board unless such powers, duties, and functions are delegated to the principal department or another competent entity. Any services provided to the board by said entity will be detailed in a separate contract or memorandum of understanding.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think that's great how you flip that around, especially given the sort of unique role of an enterprise and how much money you are handling and how much, work you actually have to put into that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
All right, anybody else?
Can you paste it into there? So we can all review it.
I believe he
Yeah,
did.
but-
It's
so I
below the
pasted it in
highlighted.
there.
Oh,
Here's-
that's that up there. Okay.
Yeah, here's
Sorry.
the original, and then here's my
Yeah.
thoughts. So what I can do is delete
I'm
that.
just seeing red lines. Sorry.
Amy, it looks like you're talking, but we are not hearing you.
Can anybody hear me now?
There you are.
Oh, okay. So I like it. I like this a lot because it keeps, I like it flipped. It keeps it with the board first. And then basically states that we, then the board can by choice kind of get into contract. It doesn't say it shall do the opposite.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah.
considering some of our other conversations, it's not just with Dora.
Right.
Yeah, that's sharp. I like it.
Okay.
I think I would change
so-
my only quibble would be the spelling of delegated, but materially I
Great
like
idea.
the content.
Hey, you're gonna be a
That's me, man.
fancy like that.
Well done, Michael.
All right. So I will get this updated draft to Kirsten for a final run through, and then you can get it out to everybody, and maybe we can vote on this at our next meeting.
Sure. Sounds great.
Beautiful. I love it.
And I apologize
right.
again for the delay in getting that language back to you.
We know you have plenty of other things going on at the state, so we appreciate the support you give us. All right, so then next up would be funding suggestions. I've put together this handy little chart to help myself. Hopefully everybody got all of the copies that Sage is forwarding. This is in no particular order. I just tried to kind of group them together largely around the project idea categories. So I guess going through real quick, so we make sure we're on the same page. Obviously, we had the 911 Resource Center proposal, and then Gunnison in their submission expressed support for that. Daryl at the PUC was great about submitting a few things. First being a recommendation for a cybersecurity support study to make sure everybody's kind of on the same page, especially around 911 cybersecurity. Bent County and Eagle County both expressed GIS mapping projects for NextGen 911 and county mapping purposes. Daryl and the PUC recommendations for a public affairs firm to help with public education around 911 and statewide training, specifically perhaps looking at compliance with the new CTSI framework or the NINA coursework. And then into the other categories, Eagle County and Pitkin both expressed recommendations around the pending Motorola Access Radio console upgrades. Eagle County within some kind of over-the-top text to 911 initiative, potentially with CAD interfacing. Gunnison submitted a request around their pending CAD replacement project. Pitkin County expressed recommendation around transcription services, whether that's Rapid or Prepared or some other company, particularly around the incoming, transcribing incoming calls. And a recommendation around an audit of surcharges. I know that's come up in a few groups in not knowing what we don't know. And then Reachwell and La Plata County both discussing the potential for ENS multi-language through Reachwell's services. Is there anything anybody would like to discuss in more detail?
One question I have, I know an early version of the language access bill, and since we, oh, looks like we lost him, so I can't ask him directly, but at least an early version of that bill had a requirement that the language translation had to be provided by the alerting authority and could not require the end user or resident to have to download a separate app or pay any money and that sort of thing. I can't remember if that, and I should have read it, but I haven't had a chance. I don't know if that was included this go around. And then the alternate question is, my understanding of Reachwell's service offering was that it is an app that you have to download and that there is a recurring subscription fee for the end user. So I don't know if that is specifically precluded in the bill, then that may not even be an option for us.
So I had some of the same concerns, and I think that initial language was dulled quite a bit, if I remember correctly. What did they call it? So it did, if I am reading it correctly, it may meet the requirement by any available method, where originally, or in the original rewrite, it expressly said it had to be the same method or the same manner. I believe that is no longer such a requirement. Now, in the outreach to his earlier point, the breakdown as far as kind of what agencies were going to be required, what agencies weren't. I can tell you in my role in Summit, we are not using ReachWell because we're including it in our in the system we just purchased. So the fact that we don't have ReachWell doesn't mean we're not doing multi-language. Yes, Matt.
I think part of his request was to present more to us, in addition to his general presentation of the idea, which I'm not opposed to a presentation. I'm not immediately diametrically opposed to the concept. I'm a little concerned about preserving local stakeholders' ability to make their own choices in what notification system they choose to use and how they choose to go about ensuring that they meet the requirements of the new statute.
Sure.
My other concern was when I looked at his spreadsheet, I recognized what I think are several authorities in there that do currently meet the requirements that he is claiming do not.
And
That's
again,
concerning to me.
yeah, just looking at Summit, we
Yes.
are flagged as unsupported. Well,
Right.
yeah, we don't have ReachWell, but it doesn't mean we're not
Yeah.
meeting that requirement.
You know, I need to have another discussion with our county emergency manager and our ENS provider, but I'm pretty sure that we are meeting that requirement already as it is. But we are also flagged as not being compliant in his spreadsheet. So it gave me a little pause to see a lot of that. And it kind of circles back to that individual local stakeholder selection and choice and means by which they choose to accomplish this.
Out
Sure.
of curiosity, Michael and Matt, do you guys have any languages that meet the criteria other than Spanish and English?
No, Spanish is the only requirement for us.
If I go back and read that bill, I think Spanish would be the only one for us. Now, we do have a number of others that we try to also support.
Yes, Amy.
What does anybody think about, like, I'm not sure, and again, this my first time on a board such as this. So I guess I wanna just ask a question, and that is, what if we left it up to the counties to individually, or authorities, sorry, to, like La Plata did, apply themselves for this versus rewarding a vendor and possibly some kind of entire contract? I think that would have maybe accomplished something that Matt, that would be up to the individual authority to request versus, giving a lump sum or something to an agency to then go out and, I don't know, try and find authorities to work with. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, we could go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, like Amy, you're thinking like an ENS support grant.
And we could absolutely do that. It's whatever this board decides we want to prioritize and support and strike funding for. My only concern around that would be, for instance, again, Summit, we just went out to a new provider a few months ago, actually, and ENS, the multi-language is built into the system. So as Summit, I would not be able to come to a board like this and say, I need X amount of dollars to support multilingual. It would be a matter of how much, if anything, I ask to support ENS, where, with, for instance, ReachWell, there's a very clear delineation of multilingual, what is it we are looking to support? What is it we're looking to prioritize?
Yeah, because ReachWell is a twofold offering, right? One, the first layer is multilingual translation for ENS, and I'm not experienced with them, so I don't know, but they claim to integrate with other emergency notification systems in some fashion to effect that. But then they also offer a complete emergency notification service.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I thought it was only an over-the-top translation.
Yeah, I think I read that in his survey response is where I'm getting that from. So to your point about what are we offering to support, and then the nice thing about if we do an ENS grant program, then they have to apply and we can assess. It's not automatic.
Mhm.
I would agree with that. And I like the idea of, let's say there are a number of counties who really don't have the means. They either don't have reserve funds to upgrade or whatever they need to do, purchase something new, and it would be exorbitant on their individual county surcharge. Then it seems like those counties could come together if they wanted to, come in as one grant just to get ReachWell for all of them or whatever. It seems like if it was a grant process, it has more options and it gives us some flexibility to look at the kind of the big picture. I was wondering if, and I know I don't want to change the topic here, but it's another item on here to fund the resource center and to do some things. Is there any value in some of this as, kind of starting points to use the resource center to gather the information and really understand what the statewide needs might be for something like these multi-language capabilities?
Independent assessment of what the need is.
Yeah, and then if we had a grant process, and everything, we could, within what was kind of figured out there, we could potentially allocate some funding.
Certainly would be an option open to us.
And then I had two other items on here that I would make comments about when the time is right, Michael.
Okay, Andrew, you want to hit your comments first?
Yeah, and Lynn took the words right out of my mouth. In addition to that, something else that we could add, hypothetically, should we go ahead and say, yes, we want to fund the resource center and have an MOU where they're providing some of this work for us. One of the things that we could also lean on them for is then the follow-up verification, right? We've got a little bit of responsibility if we provide a grant to make sure that they didn't go, buy a bunch of booze and blow. So let's, we can lean on the resource center to kind of provide that service for us as well.
Yeah, when you win a grant, you have to report. We all do.
Absolutely. All right, Matt, your other two notes.
Yeah, Bent County's request, I believe, was specific to dispatch mapping. So, for example, wireless phase 2 mapping and dispatch mapping in general. Which was interesting to me that it was about mapping ability and dispatch today because they have no GIS files. And my immediate thought was, how can you be wireless phase 2 compliant if you have no GIS?
Well,
I know there's
a CAD system they use. If they've got a tabular mapping CAD system, hypothetically, I can see that.
Yeah, technically, you can technically claim wireless phase 2 compliance without GIS, but it's really thin. But also that they asked for this effectively for service today and did not include for next gen service. But anyway, it's I would call that for dispatch mapping or something, the 911 mapping. And then the second thing I wanted to comment about was the surcharge audits.
Okay.
Is everybody here aware that the PUC's telecom program has been for a couple of years now been auditing phone companies and is taking recommendations and suggestions from 911 authorities for who should be audited?
Yeah, they do point audits of specific companies, if I understand.
Yeah. Mhm.
Question. Do they get at, and do they have the authority to get at all of the potential? The one that comes to mind, and again, this may have been resolved, was prepaid wireless, and trying to get the data and get the information back from the companies and have the authority to do that was problematic. And so if that's been resolved, that's great. I do know that it did at times seem like there was a lot of potential money out there on the retail side, et cetera, that wasn't being gathered. And I know Department of Revenue will not go after it because things have to rise to much bigger levels for them to care. Like their retailers not paying their regular taxes, and then they said they'd go audit. So I didn't know if there was some sort of problem out there that they can't get to yet.
So Jennifer would be
Jennifer,
able
I
to,
saw.
yeah, she would be able to speak to it more so. But I think they're currently going after postpaid.
I would have to and actually recommend that you invite Jolene Senna to your next meeting to ask her specifically about the prepaid. However, I will say that Jolene is like a terrier when it comes to doing those audits. And she has this unique ability to keep at these companies until they give her what she's looking for. And she just gave me an update on the 4 audits that she completed in 2024. And was successful at getting that information. So, I just don't know what her authority is about the prepaid, and that's only because I don't do the audits and I don't deal with the surcharges as much as she does. So she'd be a good person to ask, and I think she would be happy to attend next meeting so that you can ask her specific questions.
I
So
guess
those
my,
audits are funded out of 911 surcharge revenues already.
I believe so, yes. I believe it's part of the administration that's already kept.
So I kind of feel like this request would kind of be a duplication of what the PUC's telecom program is already doing.
and my concern would be, what authority would we have? Yeah, what would this mean for us? What does that look like? Since we don't have that authority, are we funding Jolene's overtime? Are we funding a second person? What exactly does that look like?
Yeah, and I think that, asking Picken County what they're specifically looking for could be one avenue, but also asking Jolene. And I believe that Picken County got in touch with Jolene after the state conference to ask her about helping them with their audits as well. And I don't know when they submitted this, and so maybe that's an overlapping request.
So I think the bill allows for Jolene to do statewide audits, but also to do audits on behalf of 911 authorities, recognizing that many authorities don't have even the funding resources to do it on their own.
And again, I don't want to give an answer that might be wrong. And so I would direct those questions to Jolene because she's the expert.
Yeah, I thought, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Okay. I thought that a full audit was at the cost of the agent, the cost of the authority requesting it. Statewide audit, but I thought the individual audits were at a cost. I just don't know how much that is or if that's true. So.
Well, I'm
Well, I
happy,
will learn alongside you.
Right? Yeah.
I'm happy to reach out to Jolene if this board would like to ask her to speak at their next meeting.
I think that'd be great. I'd be open to it.
Okay.
Would it be prudent to have a conversation with Pitkin first and say, hey, can you elucidate us a little bit more about what the ask is? And we understand you've talked to Jolene. Where is the, underlap where we can fill the gap between what Jolene's already doing and what you feel you need? That maybe will give us a better starting point.
Yeah, I can do that. I liked and appreciated the radio consoles. My only concern there is, so in Eagle counties, they were looking at 900,000 for their own center. Pitkin, when they submitted, one of the recommendations was maybe we just do one radio per PSAP. But not knowing the exact math, that adds up to a lot of money really quick. And while it is a justifiable expense, my concern is the farther we go from the actual 911 phone system and into other related and justifiable systems, the more potential to open ourselves up to some of our concerns we had during the legislative session. And so I'm concerned in that respect around funding radio parts.
I think radio inside the PSAP is allowed.
It is a justifiable expense.
I will say that my boards have always, well, I won't say always for all three of my boards. My boards have historically felt that they don't pay for radio. They pay for delivery of the call to the dispatcher's handset or headset today. And the user agencies pay for the other side of the coin out.
Right.
But that's a self-imposed limitation, not necessarily for this board, but it is something that we align with, as you stated, Michael. And if our goal is to start small with a small 911 enterprise fee, that might be a place where we ponder drawing the line, at least for the first budget or first couple of budgets.
Mm.
The other thing is that the Gunnison that I was going to mention, sorry, changing gears again, the Gunnison CAD project is a multi-county shared CAD project to include, I believe, Pitkin and somebody else. We could ask Jody for a presentation.
Yeah, I had heard that that was going to be a regional, and so I wasn't sure if that 5 to 750 was just Gunnison's portion or if that was
right. Mm-hmm.
As far as kind of next steps, so I'd love to start drilling down into priorities and therefore getting our budget and funding request so that we can give the PUC and their process as much time as possible. What are your guys' thoughts as far as next steps? So I'm thinking, based on this information we've received now, based on the feedback we've received, can we come to our next meeting? Each one of us comes to the next meeting with at least one thing. If each of us got a penny, and therefore each of us got at least $700,000, $800,000, what are your priorities? Where are you feeling our effort and money should be heading toward on a priority basis?
I can tell you mine today.
What would that be, Matt?
GIS.
Kel Surprise.
Amy,
I'm just wondering what our thoughts are as a board about these, about not receiving estimates. And do we want to really consider something? I mean, sometimes that's understandable. But does anybody have any thoughts on that? I'm just wondering, like, we can't really consider something unless we know the cost, because I
Sure.
mean, I'm not comfortable obviously agreeing to something where we don't know the cost. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
So I'll tell you my thoughts. My concern is really more about what kinds of projects people wanted to
Mhm.
bring to us. The money was more a secondary for me. You know, the fact that, you know, Bent is asking for their county maps. To me, we're not looking at Bent needs X many dollars, so that's what we're going to build. You know, that's what we're going to fund. This was a starting point, and we didn't give people a lot of time. So
Okay.
I'm not entirely surprised about you know, rough numbers or unknown numbers.
Mhm.
To me, it was more about what is the desire, what's the request out there, and then from there, you, me, Matt, Andrew, Lynn, we can decide. Okay, here's where the need and the desire is.
Mhm.
You know, we think it is a fair, reasonable to raise X many dollars based on however many cents, and can commit that amount to this type of project. And then from there,
Okay.
you know, let's say we do GIS as a major one, and we decide to commit 500,000 toward GIS projects. From there, Bent would have to come back through whatever
Got it.
process we decide.
Okay.
Is that is that what everybody else was kind of heading toward?
Yeah, I look at this and I kind of see, with some outliers, there's three primary categories that I would be interested in having discussions for. One is the resource center. The second is GIS, and the third is just kind of technology, right? And the technology piece, we have the added item of the state legislation that everybody in the state's going to have to come up with a solution for. And you know, even though the legislation specifically called us out as the funding mechanism for this, I also don't disagree, right? This is an unfunded statewide mandate. It's supporting 911. It's supporting our you know, our residents. So I would be perfectly fine having a grant fund of some sort for that. What I would be interested in doing is getting an idea of the need in those three categories. What I would even propose is, we've got resource center. We've got a fairly good idea of what the need is there, the dollar amount. GIS, that's a bit of an unknown, right? So I would want to get a little more information from our partners statewide of, okay, what are your GIS needs? And maybe we can do some back of the napkin math and figure out what the overall cost statewide is going to be outside of the work that the resource center is already doing with the state for kind of the big GIS project, right? I imagine that there are some individual jurisdictions that have some work to do to, for example, establish GIS data. So let's get an idea of what the total cost is for all the need. And then we can kind of, from there, we can figure out, all right, do we just want to do, hypothetically, resource center and GIS? Or do we want to do resource center, GIS, and language access? And, you know, or language access and GIS, or, you know, any combination of those three. With the exception of the resource center, I think both of them look like grant programs. But as far as how we set, because we could do $500,000, sure, or let's just say 800,000. It's a penny. What I'm interested in getting at is, if we do 800,000 for that and 800,000 for language access, just using even numbers, are we going to have very small impact on the GIS side and more or less solve the language access with a lot left over, right? I just kind of want to figure out what the lift is, and then we can kind of figure out what we want to do as far as how much of that lift we want to take on.
So I think that's great. My only concern is to your point about understanding what that looks like on a statewide level. We've all been in those committees and groups where you see the same 10 authorities that are represented. And I'll call them out because I see them on the call. Separate from this, Summit is a customer of Prepared 911 for some translation services. And I was having a chat with one of the reps who was trying to get the word out and understand what the statewide need is, and they're having the same issues that we're having. Not everybody knows and is involved and is out there. So that would be my only concern, especially with our time frame of trying to get that priority, therefore budget, therefore fee set. Yes, Matt.
Thank you. I was thinking along similar lines, 3 cents. 800,000 apiece per percent, just looking at this and having read through all of the proposals. Not one of them is necessarily going to take up 1 whole cent's worth of revenue. My concern about waiting until we have a better handle on how big the need is for a particular thing or how much the cost will be is the time and the cost in getting to that information. I think, Andrew, you're right to think about it and question it and maybe, desire it, but I don't know that we have that much time in this first budget.
That's a good point.
And so I'm looking at this from a more broad strokes perspective of getting things started because Michael, somebody has to prepare a budget line items, needs, and then the amount of the fee for those costs. We have to provide that to the PUC so that they can incorporate that for the surcharge. And I don't know that we have enough time. The other aspect is on the GIS example that you mentioned. Part of the Resource Center's GIS project includes some optional additional services by whatever vendor is selected to do gap analysis of what GIS needs there are. The gap analysis for what data is still needed at the local stakeholder levels. So some of that's already in process, but again, it's moving, that project is moving at the speed of government. And it's going to take some time to come to that information. So that might be information that we can use in the future. So I guess to wrap this back up, my general sense looking at these requests is 3 cents, and we build into a budget within that 3 cent parameter, a series of categories, right? I agree that the Resource Center, we voted on it last meeting, right? We voted on, I forget the exact verbiage because I think I said so moved.
For me to explore what that would look like.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like that one's for certain. Right. Now that's not nearly a full penny's worth. But if we set ourselves at 3 cents, 3 pennies is not a whole lot. It's not outrageous. And it's kind of starting small in a sense. We could maybe even go 2 pennies. But if we, for example, set ourselves at 3 pennies and then we design our first budget with just simply major categories in gross terms for the sake of expediency.
And I agree, especially on this first one where there is so much we don't know and can't know in the short amount of time we have.
Yeah. That's not to say we shouldn't be diligent. This is the
Of course.
public's money, right? Every penny of this is the public's money, but we're getting started with kind of a short cycle here.
Amy, you unmuted, but we still can't hear you again.
Thinking headset. I think 3 cents is reasonable. That's what, 2.4 billion, something like that, ish.
Give or take, depending on whose math you're looking at.
Right, right.
All right, so let's, toward that, we'll, thinking it in terms of 3 cents, we'll come to the next meeting for a final discussion and possibly even a vote. If everybody can be on the same page, is it 3 cents, and what does that rough breakdown and priority status look like? I think it is fair, to Matt's point, I think it is fair to have kind of large buckets laid out. Obviously we're not getting any money until April roughly of next year. So we can do some refining within that framework, but if we can at least have an understanding and a framework, I think that, again, to Matt's point, that does our due diligence and respect to the public's money, and then we can kind of refine from there. Does that seem fair? Matt, you got your hand up?
Yeah, early on when we were talking about roles and positions, 1 or 2 people had volunteered to be involved in initial drafting of the budget. Was that you, Lynn, or someone else?
Yeah, I think, I think it was part of talking about, position with the kind of secretarial and budget work in that. And yeah, if we need some support there, I'm happy to do it.
What I'm wondering is if 1 or 2 would volunteer to come to the next meeting with a draft budget. Remember, this is in gross terms, right? Based on that 3 cents. And then the other thought was, as I'm working on our preliminary budget, well, it's actually done for next year. We're looking at trends, and in 2024, we saw a significant drop below what was expected for VoIP 911 charge returns. And we're seeing things either staying flat or decreasing for surcharge and prepaid. And that tells me that businesses and other folks who are perhaps less able to afford are already tightening their belts. And that may in turn have a similar impact on the 911 surcharge, of which our fee is a part of on the whole. So when we think about 2.4, we have to think about, well, maybe it's 2.2 in reality, when just economic outlook and turmoil, things to think about.
Yeah, we've seen something similar. We actually saw about a 5% decrease in income in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And that was driven by an increase in mobile device registrations, but such a large decrease in landline and VoIP that it overcame the increases on mobile. So yeah.
Same. Yeah.
That's, I think it's pretty consistent. We're in our company, we're seeing, it depends on the area. And every once in a while you get some increases in line counts, wireline line counts, but overall it's, it can range from about even up to 8-10% in an area is pretty consistent year over year anymore.
Sorry, Lynn. For us, that was despite increases in the rates of all of those charges.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went from 205 to 212 in our local rate, and we still saw declines in revenues, except wireless.
Yeah.
And I know Daryl gave that 800 approximation. The original financial notes on the Senate bill that created us, it was closer to just under 7, if I remember correctly. All right, I think we have a good move forward. Is everybody okay to continue maybe a little after 4?
Can I just offer one more thing, just for awareness of when it comes up, if it's this next meeting? And I think I had mentioned quite a while back, when it comes to any of the actual votes on what the amounts will be, or the, a 3 cent, 3 cent increase in the surcharge or whatever, due to the fact that my company is a contributor on that side of it. Internally, I've been informed those are the kinds of things that cause a potential conflict for me. So I will be abstaining from those votes. They're fine if I kind of give my feedback and input as we're discussing them, but when it comes to the vote, I will be abstaining, just to keep it clean.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Board comments. Any other comments outside of agenda items for the good of the order? All right, here. Oh, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I don't know if we have consensus on one or two people to come back with a draft budget.
Oh.
Did we actually agree upon that? Do we have consensus for that? And who that's gonna be as an action item?
My apologies. Lynn, were you okay with that? And
Yeah, I am good with that. And I didn't know, not really necessarily knowing what to expect in a budget or anything, would it be appropriate for me to reach out to Jennifer or Daryl or somebody to kind of help align it all and put it together?
I think that makes sense. Jennifer, does that make sense to you?
Happy to help.
Great,
not-
thank you.
And my request is not necessarily limited to one person. If there's other folks that have the time and are wanting to work with Lynn, please have at it.
So, and I'm also happy to put together some thoughts. My only concern would be, can I work with Lynn?
Right.
Kirsten, is this,
True.
at what point does it become an issue?
Right. Where's
doing that
Kirsten?
prep work?
Kirsten.
I'm sorry, it's taken a second to turn back on.
It's
Okay,
all
sorry
good.
about that.
It's all good.
That's a good question. I can look into that and get back to you with an exact point where that becomes an issue.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Uh,
Michael.
Absolutely. Sorry, sorry I pushed past that.
All good. All good.
Now, board comments. Any additional for the good of the order? All right, seeing none. Our next scheduled meeting would be Wednesday, July 2nd at 3. So far as agenda items, we've got bylaws vote, the priority and budget, and potentially a draft budget presentation. Jennifer Kirkland to speak about DORA travel as applicable to this board. And I will invite Jolene to speak about surcharge audits, and I will follow up with Pitkin. Am I missing anything?
Did we reach a decision about entering executive session to talk about the resource center?
That's next.
Oh, okay. We're doing that now.
All right. So now, resource center discussion. So is there a desire to enter executive session to discuss the resource center proposal and negotiations?
I will move to executive session.
I will head you up on that because I have a script from Kirsten here.
Ooh.
So Andrew, would you like to move? Let's see, let me make sure I'm in my, may I have a motion for the board to enter an executive session for the purpose of discussing matters authorized to be kept confidential pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute Section 24-6402-4E CRS, specifically to determine positions relative to submitted proposals subject to negotiations, develop strategies for negotiations, and instruct negotiators pursuant to Section 24-6402-4E CRS.
So moved, all of the above.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second from Lynn. All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous vote of the yays. We are now in executive session at 4:02 p.m. All right.
Do we need to
And it
stop the
looks
recording?
like,
I'm good.
all right, so
Did
July
you?
2nd, 3 to 5. Thank you, Matt.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Now, unless there's anything else.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Matt and Lynn. We are adjourned at 4:23. Thank you, guys.
Again in a
Great
couple
meeting.
weeks.
See you in
Take care,
Phoenix.
everyone.
All right.
Thank
you, everyone.